So on AliExpress, Temu, Shine or other Chinese web shops, there are a lot of these kind of game emulators. But this one, not only I was pretty surprised about it, but also other reviewers, because this one is simple. It has a lot of games built in. It even has the possibility to expand the games with an extra SD card slot. And it is cheap. And this is just something that's really incredible. Like, the screen quality is pretty great. You can also adjust the brightness, so don't worry. If you push this button and then the volume down, here you can adjust the brightness. But it's also an IPS display, so this means on all sides you see this display pretty well. And because it is bright display, you can also use it outdoors. And thank God they also built in a pretty big battery. So this device is pretty greatly done, but there is also one thing that I think they could have done better. And that has to do with the support of different emulators. So you can play PlayStation 1 games on it, even PSP. You can also do, of course, Game Boy, Nintendo, even Nintendo DS. You can then use one of the both screens or both smaller ones. Sadly, it doesn't have touchscreen. It has to be cheap. So this means that with the Nintendo games, you really have to be lucky if the game doesn't need too much of touch control, because you can use a small arrow that's coming on your display. But if you really need touch control to really do something like for gaming, it's maybe not that great of a solution on this device. But for PlayStation games and Game Boy games and even like the Nintendo console and everything, this device is nice. Not only does it support the games pretty well, but also the overall quality you get on this display. Let's just go for Game Boy, for example, and then let's go something easy or easy to load. But you can also see like the display, even though it is a pretty sharp display, they don't do too much of upscaling or something. So as you can see, you really still get the pretty similar resolution to a Game Boy. But just a screen that has more brightness, more color grading of course, and just a better refresh rate for sure. But as you can see, the controls always do change a bit of course, but depending on which emulator. But you can see it works pretty fine. And yeah, really, I'm just a bit surprised how nice this device works for being so cheap. And there's maybe one other thing where I do think they could have done better. So they have here like a reset button, and if you push that, it will go back to the home menu. But it's a bit weird that they don't have like a button, really a separated button, that you go to the menu straight away without resetting, because now I have to wait a second, but also it will turn on the loudness again. It will also reset your brightness, so this means you get the full brightness again on the screen. And it's not too bad, but yeah, you do need to keep that in mind. So if you are in a train, for example, or somewhere where you do need to be silent, and you do this reset, be aware there will be sound back on the device. But the overall experience has been done nicely. So with the PSP emulator or games, the experience is not that great overall. And this is also what I mean with one thing they really can do better on this device. And that has to do with the CPU-GPU combination. So it's not powerful. It's pretty powerful, let's say gameplay yeah, the games that you have mostly on this device. But if you have PSP games, but also some PlayStation 1 games, you do see that the graphics of those games do need a bit more power. And especially you see it with GTA Vice City. Yes, it is on this device. It works, kinda, but you do get delay and audio issues. So this does mean that the game is playable, but the audio is not listenable. So you do need to mute the audio because it is clipping everything. I did try to adjust the settings on the device that can like remove frames or add frames. It was not getting better, but only worse. So yeah, the PSP games, not all of them work that great. And this just with the CPU. It is an alright CPU for most of the games you can play on this device, but it's not very powerful overall. So I do think if you get the Pro model of this, or a bit bigger model of this kind of devices, which are costing double, so $100, $120, you do have more power output on gameplay. But if you really just care mostly about the analog or the old school games, this device will be fine for you. It is great gameplay, it's a great display as I mentioned before. And also like the controls, it all feels much more premium than for the price. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about this Game Boy experience, and maybe I do more videos about these kind of devices, but maybe not. It depends on what you guys think about this. But really, it's a great overall experience for sure.